Welcome to your DHL Supply Chain Pricing Power Index update. I'm here with Andrew Cox. Andrew, what's the latest?
Well, Anthony, the carriers are now in the strongest position they've been in the last 2 months, but don't get me wrong, the shippers are still in a really dominant pricing power position, but things are much brighter today than they were just 2 weeks ago for the carriers. And the big momentum swing has come on the behalf of the volumes. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. You know, Zach and Luke both talked about it a lot. They are now positive both year over year and on a 2-year stack. It's yet to be foreseen how long this can last, because not only did the 2018 volumes kind of surge there into June and July, but you know, there's thought here that this could be a lot of pent-up demand that's kind of surging these volumes upward right now, and they could stabilize or even fall down a little bit here in the future. But the good thing for carriers is this means they're getting options. They now have options that they weren't there just a couple weeks ago when volumes were down really low. And it's not only the contract market that's heating up, but if we look at the truckstop.com van volume index, you see a lot of green on these 100 lanes and some big numbers, doubling numbers week over week. So you see a lot of volumes not only to contract, but also starting to hit the spot markets as well.
Excellent. And so when we're looking at these volumes, I think a lot of the debate is what kind of good and what industry this is coming from. Any thoughts around that, whether consumer facing, industrial, anything?
Yeah, I mean, if we look at that, I mean, I keep referencing the Bank of America credit card data. That's my best gauge of what's moving right now. And you can see that, you know, restaurant spendings are now up, grocery spendings is still up, produce season is out on the West Coast. You saw Luke and Zach talking about that West Coast capacity tightening and also that a lot of volumes coming out of that way. So, you know, California and Florida feeds the country for most of the year, and those are the harvests that are happening right now. So I would say a lot of produce, but there's also a lot of e-commerce and consumer-facing things. We look at that online electronics sector. That's up 150% year over year, and you see a lot of retail goods moving right now. So that's where I'd say produce and retail.
And so we saw it was a 5-point gain for this most recent week for the index. And we see volumes coming up. Any anticipations of this being sustainable with the current environment? I know it's kind of a shot in the dark here, but any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think moving forward, we're really just going to have to watch this, the capacity side of the equation here. We're starting to see some upward pressure on the outbound tender rejection index, but again, this could be a little bit of a Memorial Day bump, kind of where some drivers are expecting to take the weekend off. But you're also seeing reefer rejections kind of hit a plateau there. So this is going to be really something to watch and see if capacity does tighten as volumes continue to rise. I mean, that would tell me that that some drivers actually have left the market and capacity could tighten up. But right now we haven't seen a lot of pressure. I would like to hope to see next week somewhere in the 5 range, I mean, a large gain on the outbound tender rejection index. That would give me more confidence for the carriers moving forward.
And so we've had, of course, consumer spending. It's been strong thanks to, I think, a lot of that additional weekly stimulus that's been given out on the weekly bonuses. Do you think that's going to come into effect when we're looking at the August timeframe when some of those might be coming offline?
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about a lot. I mean, we've seen you have a lot of mixed things happening. You have import volumes coming down, and they're expected to fall even further into May, the end of May and June. And you have consumer spending that's rip-roaring right now, but a lot of it is due to that extra money that people are getting and the stimulus checks. But that's all going to run out here at the end of July. So that's definitely going to be something I'm watching to see if imports can come in and maybe pick up some of the slack that's going to come from a drop in consumer spending, because I do expect consumer spending to level off and fall towards the end of that period when we lose that money. So yeah, we're just going to have to watch imports and consumer spending, really.
Excellent. Andrew, insightful as always. Thank you so much for that update, and thank you so much for tuning in. That's going to do for this DHL Supply Chain Pricing Index. Be sure to tune in next week for the latest update.